the Resource Hero version 15 release adds quite a bit of capability to our enhanced time tracking interface, and I'd like to walk you through that capability right now. Now, the first thing that you'll notice with the time tracking interface is that that section that we had at the top where we showed day, this week, and last week has been replaced with two sections here, one for totals and one for the date selector. Now, the date selector adds, again, a little bit more capability where we can look at the current day. We can go to previous days just by using our toggle. We can look at the current week just by clicking on that week button. And now if we wanted to look at the previous week, we can hit that left and it's going to take us to the last week. And we can go to the week prior and we can go to any week that we like. So now in addition to just this week and last week, we can now go to any week just by selecting a day in that work week and have that week toggle set. Now, in addition to that, if I jump back to into the current week here again, we can see that our totals at the top, not only do we show just actuals now, but we actually can customize this to show things like billable, non-billable. You could add forecast, actual amount, actual cost, whatever you like. And these are still clickable, right? So we can see here that for actual, we have 21.43 hours that have been tracked for this week. And we can see the totals for each individual project here as well. But if I were to click on the billable now, we can see the total number of hours that were tracked per project that were billable. And if we click on non-billable, we can see the total hours that were tracked for non-billable. So again, just a very nice way that you can see those aggregates for each individual project just by clicking on those headers. Now, the next thing that you notice here is at the bottom, we have this section here for archived assignments. One of the major limitations that we had in the previous release was that if you were to work on a particular assignment for this week and you were to track some amount of hours, and then you're done with that assignment, you would archive it so that it would drop off your list. Those hours for that archived assignment would no longer be included in your this week aggregation. So with this release, the version 15 release, we now give you the ability to show those archived assignments and include their totals within your aggregate at the top. In addition to that, if you recall in the previous interface, we had that toggle that said active only, which would allow you to take whatever active assignments you had and kind of bubble them up to the top, or basically just hide everything that hasn't been didn't have time tracked to it yet. So that setting is still available, but now we've actually moved that into a settings page. So you'll notice here that if we just look at the interface settings that we have at the top, we can show or hide that total section altogether. The active only has been replaced with this toggle for sort, non-zero, and timers to the top, which I'll turn that on and we'll take a look at what that does in a second. We have the ability to again show that archive section in the totals as well. And we have the ability for users now to control whether or not their hours by default are billable or non-billable. And of course, they can always override that for individual hours that they're tracking. But now that we've set that sort non-zero to true, I'm going to save our settings here. And if we were to look at, say, some time that we had tracked on the week of January 30th, you can see here that the time that I tracked kind of bubbles up to the top. Assignments that I have not tracked towards, they're still available, but they're kind of pushed down here to the bottom. And where this is really useful, so if you're one of those folks that has 6 assignments you're tracking your time, or 6 active assignments, maybe not as useful, right? You can see all your assignments. It's very easy to find them here. But if you're one of the folks that have 30 or 50 or even more, we've seen some folks that have quite a few assignments that are active that they actively track time towards. But if you have that really big list, this allows you to take the few that you're actively working on and just have those kind of jump up to the top here, so you can again continue tracking your time towards them. And if that, if you still need to be able to try to find something in that really big list, we still have that search capability available as well. Just it's moved now to the top here, where if you click that search icon, and if you're looking for your discovery assignment, you can just search for that, and you can very quickly get into your discovery assignment. So yeah, that's the changes, the visual changes that I think you'll notice right away when you look at the new interface here. Now, the biggest thing with this release that we've enabled, we've actually now given you 3 different methods for tracking your time. And the goal is really just to meet folks where they are. People have different use cases, whether they want to track a lot of detail, they want to track this high level, or they don't want to track at all. They just want to be able to say, start a timer and be able to see how much time they've spent. We now have those 3 methods available within this release. So let me show you what that looks like now. So if we were to jump over to our projects, the first method of tracking time, this is the one that you're familiar with the enhanced time tracker interface, is our manual entry, right? So nothing surprising here. If you came into this assignment, you could track your 2 hours of billable time towards a particular category. In this case, I'll say implementation, and I'll say building the thing. We'll put in our note here, and we can click save. Now, later in the day, if we came back to work on this project and we wanted to track an additional 3 hours of non-billable time, doing research, learning about LWC. I could record that time. Again, nothing surprising. We can, enter in our hours. We can assign categories, notes. We can add additional fields here into this interface if you need to. We can see the aggregates now for our total actual, total billable, non-billable. Again, nothing too surprising here. This is the interface that was available through enhanced time tracking since we launched it several releases ago. But what is new is a new functionality that we call tap tracking. Now, you might be saying to yourself, if you're one of those folks that have used our legacy time tracking interface, this might be familiar to you, but this is new to our enhanced time tracking. Um, and you see here that in this use case, you're one of those folks that, you're working on opportunities. You don't need to record a lot of detail, but you do need to be able to very quickly log your time towards, several different categories. And in this case, we have our resource assigned to this opportunity with solution development, discovery, and prospecting. I don't need a lot of detail. I don't need a lot of notes. I just need to very quickly record my time. So if I had worked, some amount of time on each one of these, I can very quickly log that just by using this tap tracking that we have configured here. So just like that, we very quickly recorded our 4.5 hours, across these various assignments. Now, the cool thing about tap tracking, these increments that we have here, this is now customizable by the individual user. So if we were to go back into that settings interface, you can see at the bottom we have our tap tracking settings, and of course we can turn it on or off. If it's not for you, you can just disable it so it won't clutter up your interface. But if it is for you, you can enable that, and then you can customize your increments. So if you wanted to have 5 minutes, 15, 30 minutes, 8 hours, whatever you like, you can customize that. And again, this is per user. So, different users have different requirements. So they're able to kind of manage that on their own. When they're happy with that, they can save that and they'll be able to see the new increments that are displayed here. Now, again, the third method of tracking time, this is one that's been requested a lot. Folks really like this functionality where they just want to be able to start a timer and record their hours and just move on without having to think about how much time they actually spent. They just want to be able to record that automatically. So for that use case, we'll jump over to our cases because this is where it usually comes up in conversation. Where as a support individual working on a help desk or troubleshooting for a client, you might be jumping back and forth between multiple cases, and you just need a quick way to be able to turn on a timer so that you're tracking your time while you're working on a particular case and stop it when you're done and restart it, that type of thing. So here, you'll notice that next to our tap tracking, we have this start timer icon. And if I were to click that, you'll see that that'll start my timer, running here. Now, for those that are multitaskers, which unfortunately I am, I bounce back and forth between multiple different things throughout the day. Trying to keep track of, again, that individual time you're spending on each one, that becomes difficult. But with this timer, it actually makes it pretty easy. So if I jump back to our home tab, you can see there's my timer that's running on the case. Well, let's just say that I need to take a break and work on something else for a little bit. So I can come in here and I can start a timer for a different project. And you'll see that now my previous timer is paused. Now time is incrementing for this project. And I can do that as many times as I need to, right? So I can start working on this project and then, maybe go back to that one. And then I jump back onto the case. You get the idea, right? So these timers allow you throughout the day to kind of start and stop them as needed. And then when you're ready to actually record your time, we have a couple of different mechanisms for doing so. So before I show you that though, the other thing I wanted to point out is that within these timers, you'll notice that we have this notes section here, right? And what this allows you to do is to record some note, and you'll see that it just automatically saves that. And if I were to jump back over to another timer and start adding some other notes, that'll auto save. And if I came back later, I can add additional notes that'll auto save. But the reason why I wanted to point that out is that when I'm done working on this particular project and I want to actually record my time, the two methods that we have to do that, both of them will take these notes and actually drop it automatically into your actual notes field. So for example, I can click stop here. It takes me to the edit screen where I can, It'll take whatever time has been recorded as part of the timer, dumps it in the actual field. It'll take whatever notes I'd recorded, it puts into the actual notes field. And when I'm happy and I can make any additional updates I like, I click save. Now, the other way that we can kind of stop these timers, if we had one running here, is with a click log. So again, this is that use case where you just want to be able to record the time and move on. You don't care about categories or notes. You just want to go and record that time. You can click that quick log button, and it'll immediately log that time to that assignment. Now, a couple other things about the timer that I wanted to point out. One of the use cases that we've heard quite a bit about is the ability to automatically round the hours up. Some folks don't like to have zero point 0.01 hours or zero point 0.03. They want to round it up to the nearest maybe 15 minutes or the nearest 10 minutes. So we now have that ability. If you go into the settings interface, you can see that under the timer settings, we have, again, the ability to enable it or disable it. If it's not for you, you can turn it off. But we have that setting here where you can automatically round your hours up to 5, 10, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 60 minutes. And there's other settings here. You notice that when we were starting a new timer, it automatically paused the other ones. That's not required. If you have a use case where you need to have multiple active timers at the same time, you can definitely configure it to do so. And then we have the setting here for confirm before canceling timer. Again, just as a safety feature where if you accidentally clicked on that X, it'll ask you to confirm that you do in fact want to cancel that timer. But again, we know that some folks, they want to be able to move fast. They don't want to have an extra click. So we can disable that, click that stop button, it'll immediately cancel that timer. So yeah, in the version 15 release, like I said, a lot of capability that we've added into the interface. The ability to look at more than just today, this week, and last week. We can look at any day or any week. The ability to customize those totals, where you can actually go and add not just actual, but billable, non-billable, or any other field that you like. Like forecast, actual amount, actual cost. And then those three mechanisms for tracking time. We have the manual entry, the tab tracking, and now timers available. Again, just to meet your time trackers where they are, the way they like to work, we have hopefully a time entry mechanism for them. So hope you are excited to use the new time tracking interface. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. We're always happy to help. Just shoot us an email at support@resourceheroapp.com, and I'm looking forward to hearing from you. Thanks.